buttoned that up.
I'm very relaxed, as you can tell. I've been stretching. You're looking super clean cut, Adrian.
Oh,
He is.
I had a bloody
Looking
trim,
very
mate.
handsome.
I had to shoot some videos for the app this morning, and I had a look in the mirror, and I was like, "You're a grub, mate." And then I had a look through those videos that we shot when Corona first kicked in. You know how we did those intros to all the things, and then I look back at them, I'm like, "Fucking hell, we were just grubs. It looked like we'd just been camping."
we were.
Oh yeah, we were. We actually were camping. Yes, correct. So I had to
Mex, I
shave,
must
mate.
say, oh, sorry, mate. You had a shave?
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, Mex, you're rocking the vet beard, man. I'm really, you wear it well. You wear it very well.
I think it's a process. Is it like, and it's just like a buck the trend complete opposite, because your hair was phenomenal, man. It was
Yeah,
glorious.
man. I grew it out. I tried to mimic Bradley Cooper out of Star is Born, but I couldn't wear it as good as he does. And I tried the beard. I gave it for like 6 weeks. I gave the beard a good crack for like 6 weeks, and I look like that guy off at Team America World Police when he's got the pubes all over his face. I'm like, nah, I wouldn't buy guns from me, so I got rid of it.
It was like super cousin redneck.
Yeah, mate, that and the flannel, I was killing it.
Fuck yeah.
Because I just had a look, actually, because doing a bit of research, actually sort of starting to get into the professional side of things. I'm not. SHOT Show's cancelled or postponed.
Well, sort of. I don't know. There's a bit of controversy over that, a bit of misinformation, because we actually got emails just recently saying SHOT Show is still going ahead for 2021, and they've actually hired out Caesar's Palace for it to make it even bigger. It's just, I'm not sure if it'll be open to international customers and superstars, you know what I mean? So could be going ahead. Who knows? I mean, the whole
Can I jump in with a question? I got no idea what SHOT Show is.
Oh, mate, I'm glad you asked, Adrian. I prepped for this one.
Good.
So SHOT Show is pretty much it's the industry trade show for the firearm industry, and it's every year in Las Vegas, every January, and basically it's what every major manufacturer, minor manufacturer will use to showcase what they're releasing to a government and civilian organization for 2020 or for that year. And man, it's pretty cool. It's an eye opener. Lots, like, we were there for 5 days, and I didn't get to even half of the stands that were there. It was just so much to see. Heaps of meetings to people you got to go see. We represent a lot of companies in Australia from America, so getting around to make sure you touch base with them, put a face behind the emails. It was awesome time, man.
Sorry, where'd you say it is?
In Vegas. Oh boy, in Vegas of all places. So there's definitely worse places they could hold it. But man, that whole trip leading up to it was amazing. So SHOT Show was just a small part of what was a pretty epic time over there. I spent just short of 3 weeks. Flew into LA and immediately went out to Santa Monica to check out Santa Monica Pier and all that. You know, I've grown up listening. Old man used to listen to the Beach Boys. Malibu's just down the road, so that was pretty cool. Reliving a bit of childhood fantasy there. Plus, my favorite video game, Grand Theft Auto 5, is based on a fictional Los Angeles, so that was pretty cool. Spent a couple of days there. Went down south to Camp Pendleton, the Marine Corps base there, and married up with a good mate of mine, Scout Sniper, there. He's got this mad four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma that's just built for going off-road. I mean, you could invade a small country and overthrow a government with this thing. It's pretty sick. And then we drove to Vegas from there. We stopped past Big Bear, California on the way, which is it's a resort town, snow village, and we went full driving up up in the hills there, up in proper frontier country, which was fucking amazing, man. It was one of the best things I ever done. Like being up in this mountain, the big red pine trees, and up in the snow, full drive, man. It was, you know how Joe Rogan talks about. There's a lot of appetite for guys to get out and do that kind of stuff because life is just so easy now. Like you can order food on an app and have it delivered, and it was just really good being out, way the hell out in this backcountry, man. It was fucking sick.
Is that hey, does the SHOT Show coincide with, or did it coincide with that mass shooting that happened in, remember that country music festival?
Yeah. So that's Mandalay Bay, where Steve Abbott, I think his name was, he shot from there, man. That dominates the end of the strip. So he had just perfect fields of fire. It was pretty horrific to think. I think 56 people he ended up killing. They take it really well though. Like they've got a big memorial to all the people in the airport there, which is pretty cool. But I was a little worried, thinking, this is still relatively new. How are they going to take it? But no, guns are a part of America, so they loved it. Everyone knows.
Didn't he have like 17 different GATs or?
Yeah, and the big thing that he had was he had a bump stock, which is an attachment that you put on the rear of you replace your standard butt stock with the bump stock, and it doesn't actually turn your gun it doesn't change the sear or anything like that, turn it into a fully auto. Basically, it's like a giant shock absorber that moves the weapon so quick that it's pulling your finger off and on the trigger. So it's resetting the sear so quick, so you're basically turning your gun into a full auto without doing any adjustment to the trigger sear or anything like that. So it's, as a guy that loves guns in the gun industry, I kind of don't see a need for it. You would never really go hunting with something like that because I don't think it's mega accurate. So when old DT said he'd look at banning them, I was kind of like, what, I reckon that's a fight that's not really anyone should really be worth fighting. You know what I mean? Not that it matters for us in Australia. We're not allowed it anyway. So
we're not allowed anything. I don't know what, but I don't know why. Why don't you just have one gun and lots of mags, lots of ammo?
Mate, it
just doesn't click with me, mate.
And you think, mate, that's the soldier you think, you go, man, one man, 6 guns kind of thing. Like, yeah, no, I agree 100%. Why not just have heaps of mags and just stack it up?
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
Shitty stoppage drills.
Yeah, stoppage. That exactly right, Keegs. He's probably just terrible at his drills. Like, oh fuck, just grab a new gun. Like, hasn't been doing any of his dry reps, that's for sure.
Gun stops working, throw it down, get a new one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So, because the reason I wanted to get you on, man, is because coming from Snipers 1 RR that I want to talk about later on, but
yeah, man.
Me and Sutter both probably had the same experience walking into a gun shop. I walked in to buy my first GAT, and I'd done, 10 years in the army, and I walked in there looking like, first off, there was like anxiety. I thought I was going to have some pre-drinks before I went in. And then second, I was like, hey, I want to buy a gun. And they're like, yeah, no worries. What do you want? I'm like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think in Australia, like it's because it's so gun ownership's not a common thing. Like I went in there going, I want to buy a gun, and I'm like, is he going to ask me, do I want to shoot someone, or is he going to ask me what I want to do with it? I'm like, I was just nervous.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that's the big question. A lot of guys will ask is they want to get into shooting, but they're too embarrassed to go in and ask because they're afraid that the guy behind the counter is going to be like, oh, look at this guy, doesn't know what he's talking about. What an idiot. But we were all beginners once. Like, fuck, man, I was a sniper for fucking 12 years. I don't know anything outside 308 or 12.7 or 338. You know what I mean? So I'm still learning myself, and I'm in the industry. So some guy that wants to start fresh, well, what chances he got if he's just going to be pulled apart when he walks in with a lot of arrogance? And unfortunately, there is a lot of arrogance in the gun trade. Like sometimes you'll go into a full drive store and they're a bit like, look at this guy kind of thing. So it can be a little bit daunting, but basically what we ask is what do you want to achieve? Like, what's your end state? Do you want to hunt with it? Do you want to shoot long range? Do you want to shoot competition? Really, what's your end state? And when they can provide us that, we can then start to suggest certain things. The big thing is the budget. What's your budget? What are you willing to spend? You don't have to go broke to have fun. That's the thing, man. You can spend $2,000 on a decent rifle, maybe $1,600 on a good set of glass, and you're going to have just as much fun as the guy that dumped $12,000 on a custom gun. So it's really up to how much you want to spend. And at Huntsman, we're happy to walk people through that. We get that a lot. I mean, I've had probably 5 phone calls today just on people that wanted a bit of advice. They had no idea what they wanted, but they just wanted a bit of advice on where they should start. So it's that's really it. What do you want? How much you got to spend?
Yeah, because I walked in there and I was like, I'm thinking about getting a 7.62 rifle, and they're like, "Are you in the army? Are you, mate?" And I'm like, yeah. He's like,
let me guess, ammo's cheap.
Yeah. He's like, we do 308 and 223, mate. I'm like, fuck, righto. Well, how about you tell me what I need to do?
Yeah.
And it was sick, man. I got a GAT, and then they're like, how much money do you want to spend on a scope? And I was like, fuck, it doesn't really matter. I can't shoot for shit anyway. So I think I got a red, I don't know what brand it was. It was like a red something cheap $200 scope on a Remington M700. And I was like, yay, it does me, mate. You're sitting in there banging up against a truck and shit. So
see, that's you just broke the cardinal. You just did the cardinal sin there, Mex. You spent your great gun and then cheaped out on the optics, man. It's like buying a Ferrari, then go on we'll just chuck a set of retreads on it. She'll be right, mate. Just as good.
Still do burnouts.
Yeah, you still do burnouts, just for not as long. What the advice we try to give the guys is buy the best set of glass you can for your gun, because the optics are really the key component. And mounts, like I used the example, retreads on a Ferrari. You see, I've seen a lot of guys, unfortunately, they've been led astray by some other gun shops. They've bought these beautiful guns, like excellent guns that'll group really well, shoot really well, and then they're like, man, I can't zero this thing. What's going on? And it's because they've got like a $50 set of mounts that just keeps throwing the zero on the gun. They loosen up, and you got to spend the money wisely. So if you're going to spend, say, $2,000 on a rifle, you need to spend around $2,000 on a set of optics and rings to mount up to really get what you get what you pay for. Unfortunately, in the industry, so cheap is not always the best option.
But it's purpose dependent too. Like for your first time shooter, if you walk in there, I'm like, if I'm spending $2,000 on a rifle and then $2,000 on a sight, chances are you're probably going to go and shoot tins in the backyard and don't need a $2,000 sight. And that's what I think. Like our goal, I don't know if this is what you wanted to talk about later, Max, but getting some kind of intro to firearms program on this app would be sick. But I think what's more important than learning what to look for is learning how to find shops that are going to give you good advice. Because one of my big anxiety points when I went in even recently to buy 2 new guns was Australia doesn't really have a big gun culture, so there's not a lot of information out there, and what information you can find, you're not sure how good it is. So I walk in there with no real budget in mind. Like I knew what I had to spend, didn't really know what I needed to spend, and I kind of just went in there and then put my faith in the dude behind the counter and said, "Hey, can you give me advice?" Now, if the firearm industry in Australia is like used cars, he could have sold me dog shit for $5,000. I would have said, "Yes, good to go."
Yeah, sweet, mate. I'll take 2.
It looks like a rifle, feels like a rifle. I can't test fire it in his shop, so I'm giving him money and I'm walking out with it. The sight that he gave me, I was honestly, even the word sight, right, this is another sticking point we need to clarify. I went in, I'm like, "Can I get a decent sight?" And he's like, "Oh, you mean a scope, mate?" I'm like, "Ooh, we would have got smacked for calling it a scope back in the day."
Fucking back in the day, boy.
Yeah, I think finding people or helping the young boys find gun shops or advice from someone is far more important, I think, than just saying, "Hey, go and get this one." Like, tell them where to go to get more information.
Because with Huntsman, you do. You've got a YouTube channel as well, hey, that does it with through Huntsman and stuff. Or?
Yeah, no, and we're killing it too. I think I've got like 200
if you don't say so yourself.
The goal is 1 million subscribers, so we're only like 990 something thousand off that. So the end is we're just about there for the end state. But no, man, you're exactly right. We do have a media channel that are put together, and that's basically just, well, for one, it's a bit of fun, and it's just for us to review some of the products that we shoot to educate customers. You can jump on the internet and every idiot out there is willing to give you their opinion. So something we pride ourselves at Huntsman is we're all ex-diggers, all of us. It's a nearly 100% veteran-owned company, and we look after the AJs really well because we've all been there. My first gun I bought probably wasted a lot of money on something that I didn't need. So we're always happy to help the boys out, and we do a lot. A lot of the guys that post to Perth or New South Wales, or they're going overseas, we'll hang on to their guns for them. We don't charge a storage fee. A lot of other guys out there, they'll charge like $5 a day storage fee. You stretch that out over a 6-month deployment. That's a fucking lot of money, man. Like we don't do that, mate. So we try and look after guys where we can. Same with like police or first responders. We'll look after them. We'll offer a discount for them as well. Everyone else out there is getting a discount. Like uni students are getting a discount for going to fucking school and being a professional student. Why shouldn't people that put their hand up to serve the country get a discount as well? You know what I mean? So
I think it's sick. We got to get you on the you'd have to get a program together. We'll have to have a talk after this and try and get a program together for the app, mate, just to take the boys through it. And then I'll have to go across and subscribe to your show. I'm a little bit excited. I saw your first video. I was like, this is it. I want to watch this. This is good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Like you guys know, it's like getting in front of a camera. I'm a little bit introverted, and I'll know exactly in my head exactly what I say, and I'll know what I'm going to do. And as soon as I jump in front of the camera, I just turn into an idiot. Like, fucking what? Like tripping over basic English. I wasn't very smart anyway, but basic English in front of a camera seems to be the most difficult thing for me at the moment. So getting there slowly.
It drops your cortisol by about drops your IQ by about 100 as soon as the camera's in front of me, mate. Yeah. We do pack update videos or simple cooking videos. And Sutter's like, you got to say 3 things, mate. And I'm like, cool. And I'll say the first thing, and I'll be like, potato. What the fuck is the other 2?
That's easy. Me giving direction behind the camera, and I'm like, mate, it is like my brain's going, what? Why is he fucking this up? It's 3 words. He's got to say 3 words. And he's like, all right, you do it then. Come around in front of the camera, and I'm like, can't remember. Those 3 words are gone.
Mate, I can relate to that so much. Like, I just turned into a spastic, and I was actually really frustrated one time. I was filming and I felt real good. I was on the run, on the trot. I'm like, man, I am killing this. This is amazing. And then I walked around and realized the battery had gone flat on my camera, and it didn't get any of it. I was like, you mother. I nearly was microseconds away from putting the camera through the wall, which short-term game would have been a pretty hard one to explain to the boss while I destroyed the camera. But fuck it, YOLO at the time. That's all I wanted to do.
Because, I mean, it's, mate.
Give me a sec.
I'm kind of glad that you're coming on and put your hand up to sort of share this info with people, because it comes from a place where you know what the fuck you're talking about. Because how long did you spend in snipers?
Mate, I joined the Army 2005. Did my basic sniper course 2008. So about 12 years, I was pretty much sniper stream.
And you left as the supervisor, hey?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So started number 2, made my way up team leader, and then left as supervisor. So I was pretty lucky to get a full career.
And that is lived experience, digger, all the way through, knows how to shoot, doesn't take shit, doesn't talk shit. And that's where you want to learn and listen from, mate. That's why we wanted to get you on so much. Because you were the sniper, one of the sniper quads in Afghan, hey?
Yeah, man, 6-5 Zulu. Me, Yeah, MRTF2. Me, Crooksy, Troy, and Jesse. Yeah, we were over there. In fact, I think Max, our first mission with the omelette was with you boys out at a teak.
Yeah, probably.
Because remember, they kept blowing up the IED. They kept the IED in the water resupply, so we got called out there to do some counter IED missions to try and so you boys could actually have a fucking shower.
Did you? Yeah, they blew the fuck out of the water truck day 3, and we're like, yeah, fuck. And we're trying to. There's 2 bushmasters. Me and Kongi go down the hill 3 days into it, and we're like, and so you're a crew commander, like, yeah, I know what I'm fucking doing. Like, I'm a crew commander. Kongi was my driver, and we're fucking killing it. And so we go out. There's a big contact, 3-hour jump in the cars, and we go down the front of this patrol base. And Kongi is a really intelligent, mature dude, and he's cool, calm, and collected, mate. Like, you could tell him he's got cancer, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, that's fair enough, I suppose." And we were at a fucking crossroads, mate. There was a left and there was a right way to go. There was stay on the road and possibly get IED'd, or go off the road into a like a mud paddock. And I was like, fuck, mate, Kongi, go left. And he's like, mate, we'll get bogged. I'm like, it's a bush. It's a bushmaster. Go and master it. And we went 4 feet off the road, mate, and we got bogged straight away. And then as soon as we got bogged, I'm like, yeah, Kongi just reversed. He's like, I know, mate. And then all you hear is contact, right? And I'm like, and there's an RPG team moving on and we're just like, I'm like, oh, we're bogged in the middle of a contact. Yeah.
Winning.
It was funny, man, because we got super calm afterwards. We're like, okay, we should probably get out of here. Hey.
Yeah.
So it was a Benny Hill special trying to push us out. But, man, having you boys out there and watching it, and I don't know how you guys would have done the control you would have had to do to go out there and operate and know full well some of the things that people were doing, but you didn't have PID or was it within?
Mate. It was enraging. Look, I won't say who, but our very first mission, like, we're on the flight line ready to leave, and the person in charge of us come over and goes, hey, guys, I know it gets pretty hectic out there, but if you can get some footage of the people doing the bad stuff through your optics prior to engaging, that would be really good. It would help plead your case. And we're like, I'm feeling us full of a lot of confidence here that if we drop a couple of people, that we're not going to wind up on ABC. So that wasn't the most comforting thing, but there was a few cases there where you could tell they were bad guys, and we really, really wanted to stop them being bad guys, but we just couldn't get the clearance. So, one time I remember, I won't go into too many war stories, but we were literally watching a guy lift a cache. Two blokes lift this cache. They pulled up in the car, plain as day, lifting the cache. It was during that big mission when we pretty much cleared all the Mirabad Valley right before we started building Patrol Base Wally. And as the combat teams are clearing through the green, these guys just come out of the green. They pulled up in a vehicle, actually, right in front of us, like 400 meters. I wouldn't even have to put data on for that, just hold center. And 400 meters, man, they come and lift this cache, and we could tell that, man, these guys are bad, 100% bad. But we couldn't see any weapons. So we're like, fuck, we should probably call this in. And the ground commander's like, oh, yep, hold. We'll send out a team to interdict. And we're like, this is kind of time critical, man. They're not going to be here. Can we shoot these fuckers? And they're like, no, hold. We're sending a team. And they got back in the car and fucked off. So we later on, the ground commander come back and goes, hey, where should we go? And I'm like, don't bother, mate. They're gone. They're gone. They're going to lay some IEDs. You'll probably find them in an hour or so,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, the boys are going to trip over some. There were some boys that tripped over some. Operation Certain Death is what they called that. I was going on leave with Sutter. We were on Rockall, and they were starting to do the Mirabad Valley clearance, and I'm like, that's it. There goes my war. I'm going to miss everything. I'm going to be on leave. And then, everyone went through and cleaned up before we got there. So,
mate, it's actually really funny you say that about tripping on the IEDs and everything. I was talking to Nighty a few weeks ago, and we were just talking about how lucky everyone really was on our trip, that we only had, unfortunately, Ben get killed and Waz get injured really badly. Like a lot of guys injured, but fuck, man, so many close calls. We probably should have a lot more KIA, like boys getting killed on that trip. But pretty lucky when you think about it.
Yeah, who pulled
RSM?
Say again.
No, you can cut that video out, mate.
Because who kicked the fucking he's serving down south at the moment. He kicked the tripwire so hard he pulled so it was a peg and alfoil, and he kicked it so hard he pulled up.
Yeah, just completely disconnected it. Yeah.
Just disconnected it, and he saw the thing go across his feet. It was like tripwire. Fuck.
Oh, man, mate, probably. My team, we had that close call with the ATV. When I was on the bike coming in, we were patrolling in. It was a joint mission with the Dutch and us, their snipers, at night, and we rolled in down this really fucking steep finger. I ended up rolling the ATV. That's how steep it was. That was pretty interesting. Nothing like rolling a bike with about $200,000 worth of guns and optics on it. So that was pretty cool. But it wasn't until
how far down did it go?
Later. Oh man, lucky. You know how they got the tray on it that lifts off? It was lucky the tray burst open and wedged it in like a triangle. Otherwise, that bitch wasn't stopping, man. It was going to go all the way down.
Because how far do you boys? So for everyone else that isn't in the army, that didn't go to Afghan, it's literally, when we talk about the green zone, it's like what, 400 meters either side of a river, and then it goes flat desert for a K and a half, sometimes more, and then into like Razorback Mountains, right?
Yeah.
And you boys had to hump up those fucking things.
Mate, we did. It was good fun though. Like, I fucking love it, man. There's not a day go by where I don't think about that trip and the boys we worked with. That was the best time of my life. We didn't even realize it, but yeah, climbing those. Like you think of Afghanistan, you think of the war and all that, but there's some truly beautiful moments, man, when your sun is rising, you're up in the mountains and it's spreading across the valley, and you're just like, fuck, man, this could be a beautiful country if it just wasn't full of so many shitbags. You know what I mean? Like the perfect adventure place. You full drive, dirt bike. Some places there you could snowboard. You know, over near the Chinese border, just the perfect place to have fun if there wasn't people just trying to cut your head off all the time. You know?
How long would it take you to get up? Because you went up right up the back of those proper high features.
Yeah, man.
Driving quads up there, or do you hump it in?
We only had the quad for one mission, and I ran over an IED and rolled it off the side of a hill. So they got taken off us shortly after that.
See, this is why we don't give diggers good stuff. Fuck off, mate. Exactly. Are you serious?
Yeah. They're like, this is why you can't have nice things. You know, like they were a force multiplier, those bikes. It was an 8-day job, so we had 8 days worth of water and ammo and everything on it, and flew in by Chinooks, rode it off the back. I thought I was the coolest guy in the world. Ran over an IED, didn't even realise it. We missed the pressure plate either side by just a couple of centimetres, and it was about 50 kilos of HME after that. The engineers afterwards, because of troop of lads wanted to set up Overwatch after that, and they found the pressure plate and saw our wheel tracks either side of it. And when the mission finished, we pulled up and married up with them. They're all, I remember it was Rhino. He's shaking our hands and hugging us. He's like, fuck, boys, someone was looking after you guys that night. We only had the ATVs for the one mission, which was a bit of a shame because they made life pretty easy, but we walked everything else, with the helos, trying to remain obviously clandestine. So we'd land around 5-6 Ks out in the dash and walk in. And really, by the end of it, man, we could climb anything pretty quickly. It was pretty cool. One of the best missions we did was when they finally linked snipers up with the recon. We did a proper counter IED mission on, I think it was the Baluchi crossing, that one near Kudus. They kept getting IED'd. Like every time the Shoujo would go through, they'd bang in an IED. So, man, we did a proper counter IED mission, like deception and everything, because we had the A&A base right between us. I forget what that one was called. And we went out right on last light, walked 3 or 4 Ks in the wrong direction to set that deception. And then as soon as it was dark, we whipped back around, terrain shielded, got into this position, built a pretty sweet hide, spent all day, all morning on our guts, couldn't move. So, proper sniper stuff like pissing in a water bottle and all that kind of stuff. And only to have the shoujo come through. And I remember the infantry commander, obviously he hadn't been briefed from the mission. Like, they were effectively the bait. Obviously he hadn't been briefed from the mission, and he's jumped out, pushed the boys out, cleared it, and then left the boys in to hold it open and for security and push the PMVs through. And we're jumping on the comms going, what are you doing? Like, you got to leave. Like, we're baiting this dude. And like, no, we don't want to have to clear it on the way back. So we're like, no, you
won't have to. You won't have to fucking clear it if we shoot the guy in the fucking head.
Exactly. So, mate, we just watched. We watched these boys just sit kicking rocks while we're like, you motherfucker, we tried so hard for this one. They came back through and off they go back to TK, and we sat there in the freezing cold and the rain going, yeah, cool. Well, that was a waste of time. And so we knew the mission was over. So Kippo tried calling it in to see if we could collapse. And they're like, oh, no, remain on target just in case he comes back. We're like, motherfucker. So
he ain't coming back.
He's not coming back, mate. There's no way. So, yeah, we spent the rest of that day in the fucking cold and rain because it rained as well. So spent there freezing in the Afghan winter waiting for dark so we could move back to base. So that was a pretty cool one. I was pretty stoked with that.
Standard.
Fucking standard. But no, man, that was a good trip.
And there's a difference, man. Like, I got qualified on a rifle, which was an SR-25. I know how to shoot it. I was certainly, and there's a difference because Troy Millhouse come out to the patrol base, and he's like, "You got SR-25? Do you want me to teach you how to shoot it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know how to shoot it, bro." And he's like, "Where's your hold offs? Where's your data?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, cunt?"
What do you mean? I hold it here. It's got a grip.
It's got a grip, and I shoot, and I don't.
Grip.
And he took me out the range, man, and we tried doing some data shooting and trying to get some data for it and all the hold offs, and I was like, sick. And to no avail, mate. To no avail, I reckon.
Nah, come on, mate. Didn't you let rip at someone there next?
No comment,
mate.
No comment. Charity to run, mate. You got a charity to run. No comment.
No comment. You got a charity.
Don't answer that question. Don't answer that question, mate. What question?
I think I fired my gat about 5 or 6 times over there in different incidents, and I hit maybe 2 people. The rest of the time, there was a dude, and we broke file around a like a fob. Me and Rita started to split files, go down either side, and the NA run off, and we saw this dude, mate, and I was like, and they started firing. I'm like, we're on, like, we're in contact. Let's go get this guy. And obviously, bloody old mate, super fit, and off we went. And I am heaving, mate, and we must have ran 200 meters. I stopped in an aqueduct because I didn't think I'd have the energy to break gravity. I'm like, I can't jump. It's like a 1 meter bloody. I'm like, I'm not. This is it. It either dies now or I'm going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
And I tried, mate, for the life of me. I'm like, I had Millhouse was over my right shoulder, just whispering like an angel in my ear, and I shot high, low, left, right. Every time I pulled the trigger, it hit, and like in front of an apple orchard, like in front of the tree, behind it. There's boys on the radio because there's little M16s going off, pop, 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 and then there's a 7.62 going boom. I fired 17 rounds, and by the end of it, people are like, have you shot? I'm like, nah, didn't get him.
He's scared, like, suppressing fire. Come on.
He won't be back. I'm DFSW. I don't know 1 round within a meter.
You're supposed to point at baddies and pull the trigger heaps of times real fast. That's what baddies are supposed to do.
That's what they do in the movies, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, mate, if it's if it's any consolation, the first contact I got into, I leapt over a aqueduct and slipped on my ass. So that was pretty funny.
They never put cool soundtracks to that shit, do they?
No, man. Like,
no slow-mo.
No, it was me and Crooksy. We were on a flank trying to push up, and I had one of the engineers with us, and I've leapt over this aqueduct like a mad hero, and landed in the mud on the other side, slipped straight on my ass back into the aqueduct. I'm like, oh, just taking up a fire position. This looks pretty good. I'll just
Try and
stay
cover
here.
it up.
Oh, mate, it was pretty.
I want to know. I want them to put a soundtrack to. When you've got Afghan bum, and you're on a patrol, and you've really got to take a shit, and so you're like, okay, I'm just gonna. At the start, you get all like super coy, like, oh, people are gonna see my bottom.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, one of our sergeants, Sully, was a fucking legend. He was just like, I got to take a shit, and he would just stare at you while he's doing it.
He's back there.
That was a meme that I saw the other day. It was like the recruiting video, what I thought I was going to do in the army. What I really did, took shits in people's front yards. And that was
it. Oh, mate. It was so accurate. What a place.
So accurate. You either shat in someone's yard or you sat in someone's yard on their shit. Because there was human shit kind of everywhere.
Oh, man, there was that everywhere. Just feces. Just fucking feces. Like, come on, man. Dig a hole. It's not that hard. Yeah. Come on.
There's dirt everywhere.
I reckon people got dysentery. I reckon that was a thing. What? I remember one of the boys, he had shit himself so bad. It was his 21st birthday, and he just lay in his bed. He's like, oh, happy birthday.
I remember that. I was there. I was there for that, man. It was that same job we got because you just had no water. So I remember this poor come out. Oh, sorry, C-bomb. This poor bastard was sending this poor guy.
Where are you?
Oh,
come on, mate.
Come on, mate. I was just coming off picket, and I just saw this trail of shit, liquid shit, and I come over and he's got a ration tin full of water and he's cleaning himself up. He's like, "Hey, man." I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "No. Shit the bed." I remember you had something smart. It was brilliant to say, Max. I remember naturally. Like, I wish I could remember this day, but I remember pissing myself on. Poor bastard. Happy birthday, mate.
So how do you go from the frustration, the shit, and the fun times, and then you left the army? And not jumping into like super sad shit, but
yeah, man.
Was it? What did you notice getting out? Because there's some things that I've been noticing myself, and I keep promising to do like a little bit of a video to let other people who are transitioning know. What are some of the things that you've sort of started noticing or noticed from transitioning? And that sounds weird too, because people are like, are you becoming a woman? Like, no, I'm leaving the army.
Maybe. I don't know. It's 2020, man. I don't judge. No judgment. Mate, that is a great question. Just give me a second to reset this camera. Yeah,
no worries. Because it's, I don't know. You can be forearmed, and that's the benefit of proactivity is understanding what you could possibly go through, so you can identify it early. But I still don't think it changes the end state.
Yeah, well, mate, I just like you, and just like you, Adrian, we got in at the perfect time, man. Like post 9/11 or 11 September, we all knew we were going overseas. We all knew we were going to bang it in, man. I joined in 2005, like I said, and I truly had an amazing career, man. Like I got to the battalion Coral Day of all fucking days, 2006. Nothing like pulling up into 12th of May. Hey.
just trying to spike your anxiety, mate.
No, mate, come on. I know that. You can't spend nearly 14 years in one area and not.
That was a legitimate question because I've completely data dumped that shit.
Nah, bro.
Oh, no.
Nah, man. So, yeah, I arrived on Coral Day of all days, and this is back, like, you were just, your podcast with Coco was brilliant, talking about hazing. Like when you took over 3 platoon, there's a difference between hazing and initiation, and we were right on the cusp of hazing. Like we turned up, the battalion's absolutely got a skin full. They've been drinking all day, and this busload of fucking jubes straight out of Singo, middle of Singo winter. So we're all dressed up in warm weather gear, jump out in the middle of a Townsville summer, so about 30 degrees and 1,000,000% humidity. Not Townsville summer, Townsville winter, I should say. And they just let us have it. we're all thinking, it's Friday afternoon. They're not going to beast us. They beasted us. Go get in your cams, fucking right dress, left dress. They're marching us around, breast pocket height. You fucking, Then they made us get in PT gear, and they're like, tuck your shirts in, and beasting us. And then they finally let us come down to the mess, to the boozer. But we weren't allowed in the boozer. We had to sit outside on the curb while they hurled abuse at us and just looked at us. And we're all like, oh my God, what have we done? It was like that scene out of Jarhead, man, when they got to the unit. And then I remember we're all living in the transit accommodation, about 90 of us, and big Sergeant Camilla come up on the Sunday morning, and he goes, righto, hey boys, welcome to Townsville. What he's doing today? I'm like, I wouldn't mind getting out and having a look. And he goes, okay, well, I can tell you what 8 of you are doing. You're going to go and replace everyone that's on guard. Like, okay, Sarge. So, we marched down and do guard for the very first time. Been in the battalion 2 days and got a guard, so pretty stoked. And then they just beasted us for 2 weeks until they finally invited us to the boozer, and we did Terry Turbo and got initiated. We're allowed to wear our puggaree, and we're allowed to wear our blue PT shirt, and that was sick, man. That was like, to this day, still one of the best feelings. Having the whole battalion sing, here's to Joel, he's True Blue kind of thing, while you chug Terry Turbo.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I remember that. We stopped. You weren't allowed to wear your battalion shirts until you got in after your first boozer got initiated. Now, just go and buy it.
Yeah, go buy one, boys.
So how long were you in the army, Sorry?
Mate, just under 14 years, man. So
you're in for 14 years. Hang on,
bro.
Sorry, there'll be half a point in here somewhere.
Yeah, no, send it.
You were in for 14 years, and it took you 2 weeks of dog shit and being treated like shit. Then after that, it was all sick. Mate, and yet 14 years later, you still remember that as a positive.
Yeah, mate, so 100%.
Like, if people don't believe, I mean, call it what you want. Hazing is now a dirty word, but if it goes on forever, then whoever's doing it's a fucking bully, and they need to pull their head in. If it goes on for 2 weeks and you hate life for 2 weeks, it's going to be super sweet when it stops. And that's what it is. And everyone remembers those stories going, yeah, when I first rocked up, I was treated like shit. Had to prove myself. It's kind of the point. Like, a lot of the boys join the infantry, especially. So, like, I've got to prove myself. I'm 18. I don't know if I'm what I'm made of. You need to be fucking roughed around and treated a little bit like shit, so that when 100%. It's over, it's all positives.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's that whole earned, not issued mentality. Like, I've worked for this. I've been initiated. I'm now part of the brotherhood kind of thing. Whereas you're not just turning up and cool, wicked. Well, I'm gonna wink and knock off kind of thing,
And one of our boozers were back in the day were amazing at that. Whether that was planned or it happened by accident, you turn up at the boozer on a Thursday and you got to fight your way into the mortar pit or up the Fatties Hill. You either walk away with scars and then you feel good anyway because you're like, I had a crack, or you get you make it through and you're like, that was fucking sick, but you're gonna get smashed along the way. Mate, there we go. Mate, now they're no more.
Mate, I still remember our first Boozer's Bravo company. They marched us in, and it was a stitch up. Mick Johnson had stitched us up with Tommy Aiken, and they marched us past the mortar pit, and we got jumped, and the Bravo flag got taken. And I remember Lucas Boyer come over and goes, "Right, Jibs, you can either pay the mortars 5 cartons of piss, or you can take it by force." So I suggest you just buy the cartons. And we're like, nah, fuck that. We'll take it by force. And we charged this pit, man. Dude's getting flogged up. It was wicked. Shirts getting torn off. We're like, brand new. We just got given my battalion T-shirt, and it's torn off, but I didn't care. And mate, I remember I got yanked out, and this dude standing over me, he's ready to cave my head in, and we both kind of focused, and it was turns. A mate of mine who we went to the same high school, he was a year above me. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I just got in." He goes, "All right, fuck off." And I'm like, "All right." and ran away. And I'm like, thank God, because I was about to get pummeled. But no, it was sick, man. But kind of getting back on track, I got to the battalion. Within 6 months, that incident in Timor kicked off in 2006 where Alfredo Ronaldo broke out of jail, and we got reacted to that. So within 6 months, I was on a ready reaction deployment up in the mountains and jungles. That was fucking cool, man. I'm like, man, I haven't even been in the army a year yet, and I'm on operations. This is sick. Then 2007 we went back as part of BLGT2, I think it was, up a Stute. 2008 did my sniper course, and Kippo, the supervisor at the time, said whoever passes this course will be going to Afghanistan. So I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm failing the sniper course. So 2009 deployed to Afghanistan. Bit of quiet time between then. Did my promotion courses, team leader course. 2014 went back to Afghanistan. Then things started to slow down, as you're acutely aware. Trips started drying up, and then I got one last lucky gig. I got on Op Augury in 2018. Went over to the Philippines, training their snipers, which was really rewarding. Training those boys, because they were literally, we were training them, and then they were getting back. Well, they were going back into combat like a couple of next days afterwards. I actually had photos. One of the Marsol guys I taught some sniper stuff to. He went on a mission, and one of the other boys I taught came over, and he goes, "Hey man, have a look at this." And he shows me his phone, and it's a stack of Islamic dudes, Islamic terrorists that they'd towered up that morning, and he had lined them up like hunting trophies. Like, have a look at this. I'm like, man, that is so fucking cool. Like, that's the best thing ever. Like, seeing we trained these boys, like give them some mad tips, and then they went and implemented them in that morning, and killed like 9 people. So that was sick. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's fucking phenomenal, dude. That sort of stuff where you can see like the stuff you do and train. Because I don't remember. I mean, I remember boys saying that for whatever reasons it was rough, not anything to do with the job, but with the conditions and shit like that. But everyone said just teaching dudes who were going and banging it in the next couple of days was like it was a thing, mate.
It was, and the fellows were awesome, man. Like, I think we went over there thinking they were going to be a bit like the A&A, but they're just brown little Westerners, without being racist. They speak really good English. Like, they speak better English than I can speak Filipino, that's for sure. They're funny, and they get our humor, man. Like, they were awesome dudes, great guys to work with, and they took really good care of us. We'd get on the piss with them in Manila, and they're all packing 1911s and keeping us safe, like telling us, don't go down there, that's a lady boy, don't do this, kind of thing. So they looked after us well. Obviously, I was nowhere near the lady boys. That's not my bag, but it was awesome, man. But I was starting to get burnt out. By 2017, I was getting a little bit burnt out, a bit tired. The job was changing, and because we had such a good run, like deploying 5 times is unheard of, and having such a good run, to have it slowly start to change. That deployment 2018 reinvigorated me, man. It gave me the passion again to keep cracking on. But by mid 2018 again, I was fucking cooked. Like, I was also starting to get niggling pain, just starting to turn into constant pain. And I remember waking up one Saturday morning after a pack march, and I had pins and needles and throbbing in my feet and my hip, and I was like, fuck, how much longer am I going to do this? So I went to the docs, and they pretty much, I won't bore you with the details, man, but I got stuffed around with my medical. I was originally I was looking for employment somewhere else, because I wasn't really happy with the job anymore, and I didn't want to become that disgruntled sergeant that just hates everyone, hates everything. I wanted to leave the army while I still loved it, and I still do. I won't deter anyone from joining. I think it's still the best job in the world. It's just different to what we all had. So I was in a bit of pain and started looking for work, and was super lucky that Huntsman were also looking to expand, and they reached out to me and said, look, we're looking to expand. We'd like an ex-sniper supervisor. Do you know anyone interested? I'm like, yeah, this guy. And in a roundabout way, to answer your question, Mex, what was sad was you don't realize how, like, you commit a big chunk of your life to the cause, and you don't realize how you're just a small cog in a big machine until you leave. You don't want to be carried out on anyone's shoulders and have the band play Waltzing Matilda as you march around and all that, but just a bit more recognition of like, oh, cheers to your service, mate, later. Like, I didn't even get my 15, like, I didn't even get my thank you for your service certificate or anything like that. I kind of just was shown the door like, hey, well, thanks for next time, see you later. And then you're kind of forgotten about, so that one was a bit sad. So for anyone that is looking to get out, if you've committed a big chunk of your life, don't expect for them to give you a ticker tape parade down the Strand. You know what I mean? Like, just be realistic. Expectation management. You are replaceable, 100% replaceable. So
I think the shit part about, like, I mean, you could break this down 100 ways as to why that's a problem, but it's the posting cycle, especially with officers moving in, out, in, out, in, out. For dudes like you and Max that were in the battalion for as long as you were in the one battalion, that's how it used to be and that's how it should be. Like, it should be, I mean, you can rewrite how the fucking world does armies, but which we're not going to do, but we can get on a soapbox or on a podcast. If you've got a group of dudes that go or spend that much time together and know each other, including your platoon commander, including your company 2IC and your fucking OC and CO, they're probably going to give more of a fuck when you get out.
Yeah.
If your CO and your RSM just got there a year ago, they weren't there in the heyday of like all the trips. They weren't there. They don't know the boys. They're like, all right, so I've just lost a person in this role. I need to replace that with another asset in this role. And it's like, so we're just a number on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's it. Just cut and paste. Find someone.
But I don't. On the other hand, but like if your farewell parties with the boys, like if you had a big send off and the RSM and the CO turned up, you'd probably tell them to fuck off anyway.
Yeah,
you'd rather have a send off with just the boys getting sideways.
Yeah, absolutely, man, 100%. And that's exactly what we did. The people I cared about the most came and said goodbye. So that's all that mattered for me. I didn't give a fuck about anyone else. So
fuck yeah.
But yeah, man, it was those last few years in Big Blue were pretty tough, as you know, as you boys know.
I don't, mate. I got in at the right time. At the right time.
Get in, get off, get out, mate.
Mate, I got in, finished IETs, went to Timor a week later after Afghan. Luckily, well, not really luckily, but I was out of there pretty quickly later. I'm like, oh, cool. In, trip, out. Thank you very much. I missed the bullshit,
bro.
Thank fuck yeah, 100%.
So you've seen some of the ice bath stuff that Adrian's doing, and that was fucking. I couldn't believe you got in that. That was a snow-capped riverbank, and you got in a river, dude. I can't even turn the cold water shower on cold, without jumping out like a little bitch. But that's one of the human optimization sort of bits that we're sort of talking about. Is there stuff that you do that you've either put in place before you noticed anything going on wrong, or stuff that you're doing now? You're like, this actually gets me fucking firing,
mate. Yeah, I because of what's going on with my lower body at the moment, a lot of the stuff I used to enjoy doing that used to fire me up, I can't do anymore. Not pain free anyway. Luckily, I can still
phenomenal bike ride.
Yeah. Well, luckily, cycling is still one of the only things I can do. I'm not real good at going up hills because the incline puts a lot of pressure on my lower back and my hip, which causes a pretty significant amount of pain. But coming down, I can fucking Lance Armstrong it like a mad dog. But mate, I shifted my focus really to finding a new mission. I really wanted to serve and I wanted to keep serving. I tried to join the police, the West Australian Police, but they sent me a nice letter saying my tattoos didn't meet their body art policy. So thanks.
You got to get rid of those swastikas, mate. I told you.
Oh, mate, yeah. Apparently,
my mate got turned down for having a chick with titties on his arm in the WA cops.
Yeah, Army used to be strict like that too. Like any tattoos, it's more of, I think they use it as a way. The Army used to anyway. Use it as a way to go, I'm not really sure about this dude. He's got tattoos. Let's just tell him it was that. So that's probably why they kicked you out of the cops, mate. They probably sized you up and like, no, this dude's fucking too loose. We don't want him. He's going to cause trouble. Tattoos.
Tattoos. Yeah, that's right. Tattoos. Not the fact that I was dumb as a post, but we'll roll the tattoos. No, man. So basically, I had to find a new mission. What was going to drive me, and thankfully with Huntsman, we sell a lot of equipment, niche equipment to the sniper industry in the Army, and this and SOCOM, as well as provide a lot of weapons to some of the Fed and state police. So I reframe my thought of mine like, well, I can't serve anymore. They don't seem to want to let me serve. So I'm going to try and make sure the guys that are still, guys and girls that are still going down range in harm's way, are equipped with the best gear we can provide. So that's basically what I do now to try and stay on top of it.
Was that reframing your purpose, changing your purpose?
Yeah, man. Change your purpose, reframing. Some days are harder than others, I'll be honest. Some days I sit there and think, fuck, I'd give anything to be still in the Army. But then I think about, man, we're not doing anything that we were doing. You know, I don't want to be policing guys' haircuts and all that kind of piss. So, and that's all I was destined
Coming
for.
from a guy who had the greatest hair in the
I know shit. I didn't catch up with the boys for about 3 or 4 years up. Well, some of them about 3 years, and then I turned back up. Fuck, what year was it, Max? I came up there and I ran into Kaimi, and I don't know what we're up there for. Oh, we're up there because they were opening the range in Benny's name.
Yeah.
And so me and a few of the boys came up, and I walked on base and I saw you and Gonzo, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to ASODs? And this was just after that Brad Pitt movie came out, that tank movie.
Fury.
So just after Fury came out, they've all got shaved hairs on the sides and these big fucking bowl cuts slicked back, and I'm like, oh, I know what's going on. You boys watch Fury.
I know it's
now you're all getting Fury haircuts. I see. No more wars anymore. We'll just get haircuts like the movies.
That's it. That's all we can do. Live vicariously through Hollywood, mate. Yeah, that's all we got.
Exactly.
But man, I walked a fine line with that whole ASODs thing to the point where I actually carried the printout from the ADM in regards to the haircut, and I had a 4 centimeter template on the back. So when people try to chant me, I'd go, well, actually, sir, as per this by this, 4 centimeters groomed and not stepped, and they just beat them at their own game. They're like, oh, well, it's not groomed. I'm like, oh, well,
hey, bro, do you know they've changed it now?
I know. we still got a weapon system you can't put a suppressor on, but no, we could change the ADM.
Fix the haircut, mate. Priorities.
Fix the haircut. Yeah, go on, priorities.
I think it's 4 centimeters total length now.
Yeah, it is. Because everyone was quickly to tell me, like, oh, you got to have the right time, bro.
Before, when it like 4 centimeters when groomed, and you're like, the bulk of the hair can't exceed 4 centimeters. You're like, oh, for fuck, righto. But, and here's one for you, and this is a good one. This is 58 minutes. We're in the infantry now, right? Equality, and let's talk about equality. I'm all about equality. That's never a thing.
Yeah.
Women equal rights, all that. It's not been a thing since the 1970s. The pay gap is not a fucking thing. It's illegal in Australia to pay people differently based on their sex. It's illegal. You go to jail. So that being said, if you are both infantry soldiers in the army, male and female, I have a ponytail, right? Because female infantry soldiers are allowed ponytails. And if we're doing equality and we're both a fighting force and we both have to be in the same circumstances and situations, do I need to get a 4 centimeter? If I'm a girl, do I need to get a 4 centimeter haircut, or can I have a ponytail? Or can guys grow ponytails? Just saying.
Mate, it's questions like that keep me awake at night, mate.
You ask 4 questions and the answer is no.
Yeah.
Whatever you just asked, no.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Girls
unless you identify. Well, that's the thing, man. If I identify as a female, can I grow my hair long? You know, and can I do a BFA? No, I'm not even going to go there. We'll keep it.
No, but on the serious note of this, like, I wanted to jump in before, but I was trying to find a way to segue it back. It's going back about half an hour now, but this is kind of relevant to this. Like, there is politics and ideals and ideas that you can run in a comfortable Western bubble, and that's fantastic. Do whatever the fuck you want to do, which is what the world's kind of gone so far left now, it's about to implode. But that's fine if you're in a comfortable Western bubble. Going back to what you and when it comes to real world shit, like, armies have got to go overseas and fight wars, and it's got to actually function. That's real world shit, right? So chicks who want to go and fight front lines probably should get fucking haircuts. But don't say it out loud while you're in Australia, because you'll go to jail on the ABC.
Yeah.
Going back to what you're talking
100%.
about, like training the Philippine Army, right? I just wanted to put it in a context for some people because you might, they probably don't watch this podcast, but a lot of people right now would listen to you say, we train these Philippine, it was the Philippine Army, yeah?
It was,
Train the Philippine Army.
Marine Corps, sorry.
Trained the Philippine Marine Corps. 2 days later, they went back and started stacking bodies, right? To most people inside the Western bubble, they're like, oh, why are these guys so excited about dying and people getting killed? And the answer to that is it's not that it's exciting for random unknown people to be getting killed. These Filipinos, their day-to-day life in their actual own country are in gunfights for their own life.
100%.
And that is real world for them. Like for us, like even us, like the four of us, it's that we had the lucky or the opportunity to go. We had to go to a shithole and fight a war, but then we got to come home inside the bubble where it's safe and secure and you can talk about gender equity and fucking politics like that. The reality for most of the world is it's either third world, it's a shithole and you're fighting for your life just to get food and survive, or you're in gunfights with bad guys every day. And that's real for those Filipino like Marine boys. They like coming to train with you, A, upskilling to save their life, B, it's probably a fucking holiday. Then they've got to go back and get in ticks every day.
Mate, you don't know how correct you are. Like, that was something the boys, the team that I went over with, man, I had a great group of guys. At the beginning, a few of them were whinging like, oh, mate, we tell the Filipinos be there at 9 o'clock and they turn up at like 10:30, you know, this is a bit dumb. And then you go like, well, mate, let's put it in perspective. A lot of these guys were just fighting in cities away from their families. They've come back for a week or 2 weeks, and they're now, instead of going back to see their families, they're coming to us to be trained, to be turned around and pushed back into the meat grinder. So if they have a late start, let them have a late start, because for fuck's sake, for all we know, in a week or so, they could be dead. Like, so it's all put it in perspective, you know. Like, you're exactly right, Adrian. They were literally in contact daily, like operations. How we take Christmas leave is for them. They'll be at war 11 months a year, maybe go back to their family for a month, and then they're back into it, you know. So if they weren't fighting the Islamic insurgents, they were fighting the communists. So it's a pretty, mate, I thought I had a pretty good grasp on the world. It wasn't until I actually got to the Philippines and talked to some of these guys and realized, man, this is 6 hours away from Australia. This is all going down, you know. Like, we live in a super safe little bubble down here where everyone can hold hands and protest and, you know, drink their fucking soy lattes and kale and all that, and they think nothing's going to happen, but it's 6 hours away. It's a 90k gap between here and Port Moresby, and the Philippines archipelago is just one big land bridge. So it really is not that far away. You know, we are safe down here, but we're not that isolated as people like to think, you know. It's kind of scary.
I'd be careful going, we are safe down here. We're 15 seconds away from fucking China.
Oh,
and then
boy.
I don't want to be the dude who throws fear and like make everyone listening get super anxious, but it's a shorter flight from here to Darwin to the Philippines and over into where that is their reality. It's quicker to get from Darwin to there than it is to get from Darwin to where I am at the moment. And
100%.
It's just a plane flight.
It's like you go over with the A&A, and there was they're like, oh, these A&A, they're lazy, they don't go on patrol, like blah blah blah. Like, this is what we got briefed in before we go. Like, you know, you're a professional army, you've got to go out. And I honestly believe it's dudes reading books about dudes who read books about World War II, right? These are dudes, these A&A dudes who get paid fuck all, who have to go on patrol every day, and then they get a new Australian rotation come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, come on, guys, we're going to patrol 6 days a week, and you're going to do 12 hours a day patrols, and we're going to fight. And they're like, it's not an operation for me, mate. This is called Tuesday. You might call this Operation fucking whatever sexy name you, spearhead, whatever the fuck you want to call it. For me, it's Tuesday. And I've got to stay alive because it's a fucking job, mate.
Yeah, I kind of want to keep my legs, so you know, I'm going to stay in bed.
And you build a rapport with diggers, and it was the same with like the Germans in World War II, with the Brits and the Germans. They would get out, and the Turks and the Australians. the diggers finally realize, they're like, why the fuck are we killing each other? They don't want to kill me. They're like, someone else is being a dickhead. But regardless, you get back in your trenches the next day and you go and kill each other. And the ANA were like, I'm going to go on holidays and I've got to try and get from here to Perth and not drive over an IED, and not get my head cut off, and then come back and then go on patrol with the next Australian rotation that goes, come on, guys, we're making a difference. And they're like, dude, fuck off, mate.
Yeah, like, come on, man. No, fuck off, mate. Come on. It's like that mega keen guy on course. He's pushing for Som. He's like, come on, guys, let's go do it. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Just let me be
so
average.
What do you do? We hijacked the fuck out of it. It should have been SHOT Show. We were talking about fucking but
hey, we can go back to SHOT Show.
We can. I was going to say,
no, literally, we should all go to SHOT Show. I know that's
100%.
When's the next one?
Vegas and there's guns.
Well, we can't internationally travel.
Yeah, that's a pickle.
Yeah, so that's a pickle. Maybe 2022 we can all aim for SHOT Show, you know. But yeah, well, going back to SHOT Show, man. It was amazing. The Vegas is amazing. I'm not sure if you guys have been. Mex, I know you've been to the States, haven't you? You went over there, training boys one time.
I went over. I went over to see States to visit my dad, which is a cool, funny story.
We got time, mate.
You want to start Uncle Tony's story time?
Yeah, go on.
So I'm 21 years old, and my dad says, "Righto, do you want to come to America and meet me?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool, that'll be sick. Let's do that." So we fly to America with a mate who was a clerk in Monaro. We flew over to Vegas first for 5 days. I had like $6,000 or so. I don't know how many thousands of dollars I had. Got into Vegas for 3 days first, and there's stuff we can't talk about yet on the podcast, but it's Vegas, right? And I gambled. I think I blew $6,000 in like 3 days, and I was collecting chips. I was collecting $50 chips from all the casinos, like MGM Grand and the Bellagio, and like, yeah, I'll bring these back. And then there's a particular currency that you can expend them on for a particular commodity. And I realized at the end of the 3 days, I'd blown $6,000, and those $50 chips was quite a substantial amount of money. So getting them changed over to then be able to spend that was also a mission. But after getting off the plane, so I flew from Vegas to St. Louis, and I'd never seen my dad before. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go see him. And there was this dude holding up a sign, and he's like, "Welcome home, Anthony." And I'm like, he's a 6'8", redheaded giant. And I'm like, must be my dad, right? 100%'s got to be my dad. So I went up and I went over, give him a big hug. And he's like, "I'm not your dad, dude. That's your dad."
Oh, no.
"That's your dad over there." And I was like, I wasted the
See that 5 foot Hungarian looking dude over there? Yeah, that's your dad.
Your dad.
I'm a Viking, motherfucker. Get away from me.
You're a half human. Get away. Like, oh, fuck. But yeah, man, that's the only time I've been to Vegas.
So, but
I want to know.
We'll end it on that happy story.
Yeah. Well, segueing away from you embracing your old man incorrectly for the first time. Vegas was good, man. No, like we got into Vegas the night of the Conor McGregor fight, his comeback fight with Cowboy Cerrone, and I desperately wanted to go. I'm a huge McGregor fan, and I desperately wanted to go, but it was $1,000 for nosebleeds. $1,000. I was like, I love McGregor, but I can't spend $1,000 on nosebleeds. I wish I did, just quietly, because he probably won't fight again. But
he's not fighting. I thought he was keep going.
Oh, he's retired like 20 times in his career. You know, like every time he probably will. He probably will fight again. But what's the chances of me being in Las Vegas again for a McGregor fight? You know, like. But I desperately wish I went, but the strip was electric that night, and the boys had put me up in a really good hotel. I didn't know it was a really good hotel, but it was a fucking amazing hotel. And me and Matt, my Marine Scout sniper buddy, we were in the bar drinking, and Herb Dean came in, the referee come in. I'm like, oh shit, that's Herb Dean. And then Chuck Liddell come in. I'm like, holy fuck, that's Chuck Liddell. And then this security guy come over and goes, hey boys, I'll just get you to stand back a little bit. I'm like, all right, no worries. And Dan Blazarian and his entourage of women came in as well. And I'm like, God damn, man, this is like being in a music video kind of thing. And then Flavor Flav, no shit, as believe, Flavor Flav was out the front with his big clock around. So that was my introduction to Vegas. We turned it on all fucking night as we did. Because I was staying at the hotel, we had VIP entry to the nightclub in that place. So went into the VIP section. Was crazy. I think there's a bunch of NFL players and all that in there. Next morning, I nipped over the border to Arizona to race a 400 horsepower V8 trophy truck around the track, because I was like, I'm not coming to America and not racing a trophy truck. So I did that, which was pretty fucking amazing. What wasn't amazing is, as I was getting in the truck, they handed me a liability form saying that if I rolled it, I was going to pay $20,000 to have this thing fixed. And I'm like, ooh, okay, that wasn't in the safety brief. So that kind of inhibited how hard I was on comms. The guy's telling me, mate, go faster, hit the jumps quicker. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I don't have $20,000 US, $40,000. But that kicked off what was a good week, man. Like the first day of SHOT Show is actually a range day, because we represent Daniel Defence, weapon manufacturer in Australia. They invited us to their VIP range, and just think of every gun that you ever wanted to shoot, and they have just there. You can just walk up and start shooting them, man. Like, it was pretty amazing. And what I really took away was, as I'm pulling in, I noticed this great big black truck, and I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure that's the Black Rifle Coffee Company truck that I see on Instagram all the time. And I was getting a little bit excited because I've got a massive, I'm not ashamed to say it, I've got a massive man crush on Evan Hafer. And sure enough, I walked down and there's Evan Hafer up in this coffee truck. It's like a Unimog that they've converted into like a coffee stand. And there's Evan Hafer up in his coffee truck, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's Evan Hafer, man. Like that's my boy, you know. Like, I don't have many heroes in this place. Maybe Mark Donaldson, and then Evan Hafer there. So I was real nervous about meeting him, and he leans over and he goes, "Hey man, you want a coffee?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come on, come up." So I come up, and he goes, "Oh, you're Australian?" I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "You're vets?" And I'm like, "Yep." And then he starts talking to us like we're normal people, you know, like, here's the CEO of a $40 million business making me a coffee, like, and he was just a real cool dude, man, like, real cool guy. And he said, you know, he's worked with a lot of Australians, obviously boys from the regiment. He's worked with a lot of Australians in their time, and he thinks that we definitely have paid a bill in the global war of terror, bigger than what we owed, you know what I mean? He said the Australian commitment to that cause was amazing. So that was really cool, man, to meet him, and him be such a good dude. And naturally, I got a photo with him. So that kicked off the SHOT Show perfectly.
You didn't get his phone number, contact details, or email by any chance, mate?
No, I tried. He did say a lot of people confuse me for the Australian Matt Best, so he did invite me to come and be on his. No, that's not true. No one says that at all. I'm the only one who says that.
You have your own YouTube channel.
Yeah. Just as popular too, I reckon. But
hey, you got to start somewhere.
That's it, man.
Righto. So I'm a young dude. I'm in the army. I'm obviously know my way around guns, outside of SHOT Show, but in the Huntsman in the shooting industry. I want to go and shoot roos and fucking deer.
All right.
Kind of different, but maybe roos up the deer, maybe some pigs. That's fucking horrible. Okay, so I want to shoot if it moves and has a heartbeat.
Stop you right there, Mex. Before you incriminate yourself, shooting roos, you actually have to be a licensed feral eradicator. You can't legally shoot roos. So
lucky you've never done it, mate.
Lucky I've never shot roos, mate. But if you do shoot roos, you need to have a tag per roo you shoot, unless you're Indigenous like Keegan.
How long's that been? Is that that's a thing?
It's your boy.
Sorry?
Yeah,
That's an
yeah. You got
that's been around.
Mate, yeah, that's an
Literally.
actual thing. I couldn't tell you how long it's been around, but it's been around for a while. You actually need to be a licensed feral eradicator to shoot them. And you need to be able to do it humanely, because you know what it's like. We've all seen roos shot at times. If you use the wrong caliber round and you don't place them in the right place, like, they're so strong that they'll just keep kicking on, and it's quite horrific to watch these poor things die horrifically because you can't fucking place a shot that's going to kill them off humanely. But it's actually a really good question, and I've actually got some notes.
So if you were going to shoot a large hopping dog,
Yep.
If you had a tag,
Yeah, if you were licensed to do so.
Hypothetically. What was Rogan's old line? It was allegedly.
So allegedly, you want to shoot a roo, which I don't condone it unless you're a licensed shooter. Basically, that's what you're looking at is more your medium caliber weapon ammunition that you're looking at. I've prepared for this one, mate. So some of your medium game calibers you're looking at is 22, 250, 243. My favorite, 308. Hence, that's my shirt that I'm wearing right now. And 6.5 Creedmoor they're what you're looking at for stuff for games such as fox, wildcats, wild dogs, rabbits at an extended distance. Obviously, you're not going to smack a rabbit with 308 at 10 meters, because if you're planning on eating it later, well, there's not going to be much to eat. Some of your smaller that's medium game would be your deer, pigs, goats, roos, I should say, with your 308. Your smaller game, you're looking around 223. That's your rabbits, wild dogs.
And so 223 is 5.56 for AJs.
NATO calls
near
5.56.
Near on, yeah.
Near on, mate. Like, you'll get some purists out there that'll be like, "Oh, it's not really," but it's the same fucking thing. I mean,
it's pretty close. Like, we're close enough, or we're not going to.
If you bought a rifle, a 223 rifle, you could, and you found some 5.56 lying around, you could use it.
Could you shoot five? Can you shoot 5.56 for a 223?
Yes, mate. Did we just clear that up?
Yeah, so I'll explain it. This is why you got to go to a professional to get advice, right? Mex gave me the furphy that they modified. So 223 and 5.56 are slightly different, and 308 and 7.62 are slightly different. So you can't steal rounds from work. I'm pretty sure some RSM 20 years ago made that shit up.
100%.
No, so 308 and 7.62 are mildly different, are they not? They're so slightly different.
So I walk into a gun shop a month ago. I'm like, mate, I want to get a 308. I may have some. Well, hang on, let's pause that. I want to get a 308. Does it fit 7.62? Let's just go with that. And he's like, yeah, it's the same thing, mate. I'm like, oh, now I'm a fucking idiot, and I should have just not listened to Vex.
Oh, my dog's going off.
That's why you got it.
That's why I've got her. That's her job. But can you guys hear that? For a little Frenchie, she's a goer, mate. If you're looking at large game, such as scrub bulls, wild horses, buffaloes, camel. Obviously, wild horses, not the ones at Singo, as some of the boys will tell you, is a bad thing. You're looking at your 300 Win Mag, 338 Lapia. Then you got your trophy animals, which they require a specific or a minimum caliber that you need to use to make sure that you're killing them humanely. Like, you should be killing all your animals humanely anyway. I'm not a big advocate. Like, I don't just go hunting to satisfy bloodlust. If I was to hunt, it's to harvest of meat. I don't just like killing stuff for the sake of killing it. Like, I'll get a deer and harvest the meat and put it in the freezer, kind of thing. Like, a lot of people out there just enjoy slotting stuff for the sake of slotting it. But pigs are a bit different. Pigs are a wild pest, especially up the north here. As you know, you've got to do something to control them, because they cause a lot of. I mean, you could kill 100 pigs in a night. You're not even going to make a dent in what they're doing. So pigs are a bit different. You can kind of kill them indiscriminately, but I try to be careful on what I'm shooting.
Yeah, that's the fucking thing, man. I think it's a misconception, and I don't think you're ever going to win this argument with.
Nah.
But if you could sit down with someone and go, "Hey, like pigs fuck up dams, and they are horrendous, and they are. I don't even know. Actually, we're going to have to get a super lefty on the show and just go. Hey, look, we shoot pigs because they fuck up farmers' lands, and they're a pest. And we've got to control them, and they're a pest, and they do a lot of damage, and they're breeding, and they blah blah blah, and they were like, maybe they've got a zinger. I highly doubt it. I fucking highly doubt it because they're probably 17 years old and they read it out of a textbook. But
yep. Well, mate, just look at it. Imagine if something like swine flu got into the natural pigs up in North Queensland, and then it went through to normal pig farms and all that. Like it could cripple us. It could shut the industry down. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a pretty big thing. It's a pretty big deal.
My argument is everyone's like, yeah, I'm super spiritual, super woke, and I do these things that the Indians do. Not my argument. That is never my argument. So we do these things that the Indians used to do, and we we replicate, imitate some practices that they used to do, but they also used to hunt, and they used to do some things that they're pretty respectful. They used to be respectful of the hunt, and they did it for a reason. Why can you not now, as a Westerner, replicate those practices for an end state of killing an animal, but for the same reason as perhaps doing another leftist behavioral thing that is acceptable? Can we not encapsulate the whole thing?
Ignorance, mate. People want to believe what they want to believe, and everyone thinks meat just comes from the supermarket. So,
mate, I think I've said this I don't know if I said this on a podcast before. I turned up at home the other day with a new 308. When I say at home, I was in Newcastle picking it up, and it was on the floor, and I was just laying all this kit out to put it away properly. And my mum comes home, and she's like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I'm like, "It's for hunting, Mum." She goes, "What are you hunting?" I'm like, "Most likely deer."
People.
She's like, "That's disgusting." I'm like, "You fucking eat meat. You had a steak last night." And she's like, "That's different." I'm like, "What?
How is it different?"
Mate, it's that same thing. It's the same as the Philippine Marines going back to the real world and getting in ticks every day. We're in a Western bubble where we don't want to know where food comes from. We don't want to know what actually happens outside the Western world. We don't want to know where the sausage is made or where poos go when they go down the toilet. Like, we just want to be ignorantly comfortable and go about our daily life. It's easy.
Yeah, man. It is. It's way easy. Ignorance is bliss. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. So,
yeah, and I think people that haven't done it don't know what the feeling is. Like, if you can provide meat and like go spearing with the boys, bring back a feed, and then sit down and eat, it's so much more satisfying than going to the fucking shop.
100%. Yeah, and I mean, it's not fun. Like, I don't know what it's like for everyone. The first time I killed an animal to eat, I felt a little bit empty inside. And then after, I'm like, oh, I was going to eat meat anyway. And you I mean, it's the same as anything. You become numb to it, and you do it over and over. But me and Max took guns out one night to go shooting up north, a few hours north of Newcastle, and all we found is horses. And this is like the bloodlust argument. We looked at these wild brumbies, and they're a pest, right? And I couldn't do it, and Max couldn't do it. And I'm like, and I remember you saying, mate, this was years ago. I remember you saying, I'm like, if we kill that, I will cry myself to sleep at night. I'm like, fucking 100%. Mate. I am not killing a horse because I'm not going to eat it.
And you associate it like a pet. Like, we look at horse. The guys in World War I rode them into war, and people have pets as horses as pets, and that. And then you're like, oh, we'll just drop this. It'd be like going out and shooting my little Frenchie. Like, oh, I can't do this. This is gonna break my heart.
100%.
No, there's not a chance of it. Mate, no. I don't know what it is. I'm not, but is that conditioning the same thing as people are like, I can't shoot a person? You're like, sure you can. They're kind of like rabbits when you get used to it.
But it's the same as everything, mate. You need to. I mean, this is diving into psychology. You just got to brainwash someone enough, and you can make them hunt anything.
Yep. Yeah.
All you
The
got to do
Dutch.
is
Remember the Dutch? Remember in the messes? The Dutch were eating horse.
yeah. I've eaten horse. I wouldn't. I don't know if it was on a buffet in a Mongolian restaurant in Switzerland. Like it was there, and there's all these other random animals. I'm like, oh, you got to try it. I'm like, yeah, I probably won't do that again. It wasn't delicious enough to make me want to eat horse every night.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it, mate. Honestly.
We accidentally ate dog on my first rotation of the team, or we were doing a hearts and minds job with an Australian nurse, a Catholic nun, I should say, and they presented us food, and we're like, this is really strange meat. We hadn't eaten nothing but ration packs, and we're like, what's this? And they're like, put. And we're like, what? And they're like, oh, it's dog. I'm like, yeah, right. Not sure how I feel about that.
I'm so hungry.
I'm like, hey, look, interpreter, just correct me. Did it sound like you said dog? Like, yeah, I did. I'm like, okay, right, dog. That's something different. Won't be doing that again, but yeah. And I'm a big dog fan as well, so that was like, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I've got 2 dogs. That's it. It's
Right,
weird,
so-
eh? I don't know what it is. I don't know what the crossover is, but
It was the apocalypse. That's when you cross over, man.
Well, mate, we had remember when you boys when the Stomp first got cancelled and everyone's in Sydney and we were like, all right, the apocalypse is coming. The world's about to fall apart. Let's get ready for it. And no shit, like it was a joke, but it also wasn't a joke. You're like, when this goes real bad, we're going to start eating people. And you look at the window and you're like, that dude's probably going to get eaten first. Then the dog's going, I'll probably eat the dog before Max. Yeah. But I mean, it's
hopefully.
Oh my god, they're both shit blokes. I'll just eat both of them. Mate, it's the Western bubble again. Where no one goes hungry anymore. You don't even need to leave your house for food anymore. You press 2 buttons and shit rocks up at your house. And as soon as people get hungry and Uber Eats stops delivering and Woolworths shelves are empty, I mean, we ran out of toilet paper. We didn't run out of food. If we ran out of food, that separates the men from the boys. And you're like, you were a lefty. I mean, you wanted to stop people hunting. You wanted to go and sail around on the bloody Sea Shepherd yesterday. Now you're hungry and you haven't eaten in 48 hours. You are eating anything that moves.
100%. You will eat whatever is available.
And I think that's why, like, people always talk about, like, all the boys and, like, veterans. The mentality is like, oh, apocalypse was coming. And you're like, fuck yeah. And it's not so much, well, one, it's exciting, but it's also now we get to see how all these people from the comfort bubble respond to adversity.
Absolutely.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, it has been interesting.
Who's a liability and who's an asset? Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it never comes.
Job. Nah, hopefully not, man. Like, because let's be honest, if this was really apocalypse, and let's be honest, COVID is bad, but it's the apocalypse on the lowest setting, and we failed miserably. If this was real, like zombies,
because people don't give a shit, bro. Like, honestly, it's been on the news now since March. The problem is if you it's exactly what they do. If you overexpose, it's what they do to us before we go overseas. Yeah, you condition people to a thing, then they stop giving a shit about it. Yeah, it has been on the news, and it has been on ABC News non-stop for 18 hours a day since March. People are just like, I don't give a fuck anymore. And they should, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'm saying people have just stopped giving a fuck.
We won't go into that. Maybe we can. How long are we going?
Oh, I think we've got a bloody. I think that's pretty close to the end anyway.
We'll wrap it up before I go full conspiracy.
Yeah, well,
probably a safe bet. Probably a safe bet.
Let me change the battery out before we wrap it up. So, wait one.
Yeah, Roger.
But I've got it.
That thing you posted yesterday, Adrian, was the funniest thing. If all the obese people.
That was from Tim Kennedy. I don't think I probably forgot to tag him in it. But mate, if what we should do with this podcast is just tag every person that's been name dropped, all the way down to that flavour dude that I've never heard of before that he was talking about with big chains. But
he's got a giant clock around his chest.
Oh, does he? I don't watch the
I'm assuming he's a rapper.
Anymore, mate. Oh, mate, Tim Kennedy's on it for the funny stuff. He's a pretty right-wing real dude.
Or we can tag. There's Matt Best. There's Evans. There's a few. Well, I think we're good.
We're good to go. Old tags. But yeah, it was funny. So it feels like the start of Corona feels like 100 years ago. You're like, oh, and that may, if you want, I'm just going to dip my toe in the conspiracy pool. If you want a population to feel like it's become, this is the norm, right? COVID environment is now the norm. This is the perfect way to do it. You're like, all right, there was a quick onset. Everybody went fucking mental. They started buying up toilet paper and hating on each other. And then it became, oh, everyone's in lockdown. America's in lockdown. The whole world's in lockdown. It's cool. It's going to be over soon. And then it wasn't over soon. And then in Australia, it was over pretty quickly. We were kind of lucky. And then you're like, all right, they're going to forget about this. Like, everyone had already forgotten about it. Like, nah, we've got to drag it out. If you want it to become the norm, drag it out even longer. And now you're looking at it going, Corona started about, a decade and a half ago? Like, no, mate, it was March. But it feels like it's been going for so long, and it's now normal. Like, mate, I know I don't want to put my foot in it, but fuck it. Like, wearing masks.
But I'm going to.
But I'm going, mate. I got this as an opinion piece. There's no science behind it. Wearing masks is fucking stupid. Like, I know they're making everybody wear them in Melbourne. Just keep people away from each other. If you're a high risk, just stay the fuck away from everyone. Like, masks in Australia, I never thought I'd see the day. People come over from China. Like, there's a lot of Chinese people in Australia. Fair enough. They're used to it. It's the norm for them. Wearing masks mostly because there's smog everywhere, and they didn't realise that wearing a mask doesn't actually stop you from breathing in smog. But anyway, and then you see a few Chinese people wearing masks in Sydney. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Everyone's wearing them now. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? They don't do anything.
Yeah.
You're bought into the bullshit. Like, you're walking out, and most people are wearing them because they think it's protecting them. I know all these kids that are wearing, these teenage kids that are wearing them. If you go, you're wearing a mask to protect everyone else from you, they'll probably tear it off and be like, fuck everyone else. It was still wearing it because they think it's protecting them. All it's doing is make you rebreathe your own shit all day.
Yeah.
Oh,
mate. Ignorance is bliss.
It is bliss, mate. I just want to see whether whatever the World Health Organization says next will be interesting. Bill Gates is telling everyone he's got 7 billion doses of vaccine ready to go. Have you tested it, mate? Yeah, everyone was infertile after the test, but we're going to roll it out.
Yep.
Why do you want to roll it out? Because it's fucking expensive, mate. I've got to get my money back. Cut me off.
Blowjobs don't pay for themselves, mate.
You built computers for a living, and now you're telling me to inject shit into my body? Stop it. The other bloke that built computers for a living, like Steve Jobs. I'm on a soapbox now. You probably should have cut this 20 minutes ago. Steve Jobs, no shit.
Because you're gonna get Clinticided real soon.
Oh, fucking good.
Bill, accidentally snapping your own.
Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, right? They used to go head to head. Super smart dudes, do computers, good to go. Stick to fucking computers. Steve Jobs was a billionaire, died of cancer. Why? Because he had a shit diet and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not going to dig into his med file, but he was eating fruit and nothing else. And if you want to feed cancer, if you get cancer, you want to feed it to die real quick, just eat heaps of sugar. That's how you do it. I'm like, let's not get health advice from dudes who build computers for a living. Let's get computer advice from them. Let's get health advice from dudes who understand health for their entire lives. Please, except for Fauci or Fauci. He likes money too. Anyway,
oh man,
he can cut the last
good soapbox.
Yeah,
no, leave it. That's going to be the best soundbite, you know.
No, that'll take us. That'll
come on, mate. No,
so
man,
you're doing the Huntsman piece, mate, and just to round it out, you're working for Huntsman Firearms now, and
Huntsman AUS. We changed the name.
Oh,
yeah. So the boys changed the name from Huntsman Firearms to AUS because the moment you drop firearms on anything, it just sends up red flags. So we'd have people in the US trying to pay for we'd receive payment for orders and the banks would just freeze it because firearms, hang on a minute kind of thing. And it just becomes a real big drama through border control and all that. So the guys changed it to AUS. So it makes it a bit more streamlined. Yep.
Oof. Righto.
So knife hand there. Get it right.
Well, we're going to round it out, mate. You want to drop on us before we head off, mate?
No, I will, man. I'll just wrap it up real quick. Just so Huntsman, it is a veteran-owned organisation, and we are really getting into that government spec, government end state, where we really want to keep serving the boys and ladies that are going down range in harm's way. We still do the retail side, so we're not your traditional hunting store or gun shop. We're more in that custom high-end bolt gun range. And like I said, that being said, you don't need to drop 12K to have fun. You can spend, $3,500. You can have fun. So if anyone's interested, reach out to us. We're on social media. We've got a YouTube page. You call the shop, email us, let us know that you're a serving member or first responder. And like I said, we look after where we can. We already run pretty tight prices, but we always try and sharpen it up to look after the guys that are still serving. So my biggest advice I can give to AJs, when you move state, know the legislation of the of the state you're going to. I made that classic mistake when I posted this thing. I was an instructor in 2016. I turned up at a gun shop in Maitland, pulled my gun out, and the guy just about did backflips, and I thought he was going to call the cops on me. I'm like, mate, what's the problem? And he goes, what's the problem? What's the problem? This. And he starts clicking my folding buttstock in and out. And I'm like, yeah, so? He goes, this is illegal. I shouldn't even let you leave with this. Blah, blah, blah. Starts carrying on. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. I'm just a digger kind of thing. It's my first day. And I ended up getting that rectified. I had to get the buttstock fixed so it wouldn't collapse. But just know know what legislation you're going into. Like, for instance, West Australia has appearance laws. So if you turn up with a gun that looks too scary, it can be classed as illegal. So if it looks military and looks too scary, it's illegal. If it has a Picatinny rail, legit, mate. So
that's a dangerous law,
mate. It really is. So my biggest advice to the army boys and police and all that are moving around: if you're moving and you're taking your weapon, know what your law is, so you're not turning up and breaking the law like I did straight off the bat. So that's my biggest advice.
And if you don't know, call Huntsman and they'll bloody tell you.
Yeah, 100%, mate. We do it a lot. Boys that get into commando and post them down there, we'll hang on to their guts for them and send them down once they're good to go. So we look after everyone where we can, man.
Mate, we'll put a link in the comments, and that's a fucking sick. That is something, especially with current serving dudes. I've fallen in the trap myself, so.
Yeah, man. So do I. Still do.
Finally, just real quick before we do go, when we're going to do the stomp, we were talking about getting Huntsman to organise a range day, mostly so we can get diggers that are either getting out or that are still in, out there, hands-on civvy gats, get some knowledge from you boys. Well, that was going to be the plan when we were walking through Townsville. Now, obviously, the stomp won't go ahead till next year now, but if you're still keen, bro, let's talk about putting one together, and we'll just 100%. Once the borders open again, we'll come up and shoot some bloody YouTube videos and do a range day.
100%, man. Like, we will gladly support you boys. In anything. Like, while I got you, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you. Like, I was honoured when Mex reached out and goes, hey, man, do you want to come on? Because I'm like, fuck me. You've had Coco, you've had Woz, you've had Phil Thompson. I'm like, fuck. Hopefully I can live up to the caliber that you've already had in place. And if not, if people find this boring and they struggle to sleep, well, then they can put it on and
channel your fucking.
They could maybe listen and help go to sleep. But in all seriousness, boys, I really support what you guys are doing. It's a noble cause. It really is, and I'll help you wherever I can. And I think we've put too many of our mates, without lowering the tone, we've put too many of our mates in the ground that we probably could have prevented. So love what you guys are doing. We'll support it wholeheartedly with whatever you ask me. I'll gladly help. And just a quick shout out to any of my boys that I've served with. Feel free to ring me if I was there for you when we were serving. I'm still here for you now. So I don't care if you call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, gut full of piss and want to cry in my ear. I'd rather that than get a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning saying that another one of our mates had taken their lives. So love what you guys are doing, and I'll help you in any way that you want me to do. I think
Thanks,
you're doing
mate.
a great job, so keep it up.
Cheers, bro.
Legend.
Call it there.
I think we'll wrap it up there.